Well, we've gotten a lot of questions about the book from around the country, and I'm going to address the first one, which is the design of the book jacket. We have a young man who's tired in a tunnel, and that represents Glenn. Why don't you talk about the tunnel, Glenn?
Well, what it represents for me was two ways out. The tunnel was a dark place in my life, suffering from bipolar depression. And there were only two ways out. One is if the Lord were to guide me to the light, and the other was if I were to take control of my life and end it myself.
So we hired a fine artist to do the representation. And while she was designing the cover, we actually put another image in there, another 12-year-old boy who actually committed suicide while Glenn was a baseball coach. So Glenn as a 12-year-old and this young boy as a 12-year-old, Glenn actually made it to become a parent and a grandparent, and the little boy who was just abused as a child and never lived to see the day of enjoying himself. And we have a question to you as to how you were able to get through all the pain and the how'd you persevere through all that, the depression, etc.
I had a ton of support, but I still needed a lot of help. My wife was always there for me, 45 years. My grandkids, my sons, and one of the biggest goals for me was working with children in sports, football and baseball. Skip, one thing I was always interested in is why this book was so important for you to finish.
It's a good question, Glenn. You know, having written business books, and there was a book I had done where I interviewed 50 couples who were married for 50 years or more. I was fascinated that you were married for 45 years and how your wife went through all that with you. That was fascinating to me. The story of the celery fascinated me. Here we had a classmate who was dumpster diving for his food because he was so poor. But I think the story of the little boy, the 12-year-old boy that committed suicide because he had been abused as a child, really got to me. And I was so compelled to finish this. It was not just a story about Glenn Uvar-Haley and overcoming depression or abuse, but it was really a story about child abuse in not only in America but around the world. And we structured the book so that it became a learning experience for people. Glenn, my job was basically to tell your story, and you provided all the great content. What was it like? What was the book like? What was it like writing this book for you?
Life-changing. Gave me purpose. Reading the book, I had no idea that I had gone through that. I felt sorry for the guy that had to go into dumpsters, but that was life for me. And until I did the book, I didn't realize, what children go through, and nobody even notices.
Thank you.